like you put in a dark, kind of warmish tone, then put in a lighter tone on top of that, because scars often get lighter than the skin around them, basically the little shadow. But scars also pull, so you're going to get kind of shapes where the scar sort of tries to pull in to cover that little spot where the skin got damaged. And from here, the scarred skin gets to be more glossy than normal skin. So we could even have like little highlights, little glossy spots down on the opposite side of the light source. Then on this side, the skin is pulling up to try to catch it. So it might actually pick up a little light along that side of it. But that's just a real brief, look at kind of doing scars. So it feels like it's sitting on its belly and it just kind of has its legs up in the air. This can serve as the general direction for the image, but let's restart it by working it from the ground up and figuring out the space that it's working in. First thing we want to do is work out where is it sitting, how much volume is it taking up. Then we can say, all right, well, what I want is body to be taking up about that much space, but I want it off the ground about that far, so I can just move it up from that location a bit. I know where it's sitting in the three-dimensional volume, and then I know that if I have a joint here, here, and here, then the most likely points that those need to touch are right there. So I know that that's going to be the right distance from each corner, so I can have the legs coming up. But with the leg designs, let's take a look at these. Like, you'll notice that to have a good mobility for a leg like this, you're going to have the joint here, and then it's going to have that V. And then it's going to come down, and it's going to have one last little toe joint right there. Yours just has the boom, boom, and the toe. And that's not going to be nearly as mobile. So this can come here, and then up, and kind of come back like this. Same thing, but this leg is going to really start overlapping the rest of it, but that's fine. That's how foreshortening works. Overlapping, joint, joint, curving back. You could map those across so that they're the right size all the way, each one. That would be going back behind the other thing. I think you're in a pretty good place here, right? And probably because you were looking at this. Let's play up this shape here. And we're going to make that probably even extra rounded. And because he's so much heavier than you are, it's likely going to have another one there. And then this essentially is going to become a big baggy one right there too. So we can make that a nice bigger shape there too. And that's going to round down. This is a nice form where it's overlapping there. I think we want to push his eyebrow more if he has much of an eyebrow. And let's find some more interesting shapes to push his nose. Right now it's just kind of like a big sphere, but we want to find some more interesting planes in this and curves. Like this guy over here is a really good example of, look at these. It's not just one big curve, right? It's not just a sphere. It's got really nice aggression to these angles. So you can see it as kind of like a cylinder here, and then a little sphere there, and then it pulls back there. And that's the sort of thing I think you can go with yours. It doesn't need to be necessarily that same shape, but like this staying the same size all the way across. Okay, a little boring. But if it was like wide here and then narrower on that side, so it has a little change to it. Okay, cool. Then like on your nose, I assume this is self-portrait, I'm just guessing, that it pulls back up, the skin does. And so we could look at doing the same sort of thing, that skin kind of folds back there that way. And then you have the main nostril here. And there could even be like some folds coming out from that. And then we want to see maybe even some folds along the top like we have on that one, where this plane, we have a bit of a plane here, kind of that same cylinder shape. We have a bit of a plane there, and then we might even have a couple little wrinkles here. Let's also look at the mouth. It's looking pretty good. What we want to pay attention to is, like, you have the round part of the mouth itself with the lips kind of curve out, but then you have the cheek on the back side, and we've got actually two different forms going on where, like, this is kind of curving out, and then we're probably going to have this fold on the opposite side kind of coming there. Then we're going to have that curving into the shape of the chin. And even on yours, this lighting doesn't show it much, but we got that angle change here and that barrel shape there. And that's not where this is flattening out a bit too much, when we should have still a bit of that barrel coming around. So let's see about kind of playing up that flow. That would curve back on itself there. And with the mouth, there's a couple of shapes. It's going to have kind of that shape there. So if you want to think about it, it's kind of like this. And then basically there's kind of two forms here. It usually has a flattened or slightly up curve to the bottom. Then this is going to have a slight V shape. It's going to have a small center line there, if you want to think about the center line. Then mapping that onto a three-dimensional form can be a little hard. Then letting that fold down, then that's where it's coming down into the chin. This is a really nice shape along that cheekbone. If we want to bring out that cheekbone just a little bit more. His ears really seems maybe a bit big. I would probably size his ear down just a bit and maybe push it back so that we can have some more cheekbone action. We want to think about the volumes of the neck. You basically have kind of a cylinder barrel shape, and it's held either side by the main muscles. Drawing wrinkles can be not the best way to do it. If doing it in reverse can actually be better sometimes. Actually, you would paint that area dark or something like that. Instead of drawing in the dark wrinkles, you're drawing in the lit areas. So I'm kind of drawing in the forms that I want. And so by drawing in the light stuff, you can add in a lot of detail really quick. And it gives the illusion that you spent a lot of time drawing all these little finessed forms when you just really didn't do it at all. What you did is just painted in the little lights. Something like that. It's like that could be a fold. So I'm actually going to draw in the light on the inside of that. And I just kind of come in here and I start picking out different little places where there could be little wrinkles. I went for years without ever using this approach, and I'll tell you what, it can be way faster. Same sort of thing down here, if you shaded the mouth. And what you're doing is actually letting some of the randomness in the strokes actually help tell you the little volumes of what's going on. And generally you want one side to be slightly harder than the other side. Like this side I'm going to let be hard and has more contrast there, and then I'm going to let it fuzz out a bit on the other side. Again, this side is going to have contrast, and then I'm going to let this side on the right side fuzz out a little bit. And then I can come in here and I can get inside of the inside bits, brighten them up just a little bit. And this is a lot easier to do if you're working in black and white, and you don't have to worry about color variation or shifting from one hue to another hue, or vibrancy or anything like that, and you're just working with values. I don't really like proper detailing, but this, frankly, is kind of fun.